Anyway, let's get going, Benz.
Awesome. Good evening. Oh, wait, I need a break for Russell. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Punch, Kick, Joke Chat. My name is Sean Benson. I'm one of your hosts, and we have a hosts chat tonight. So I'm here with people we're going to introduce later, Sensei Dolphin, Sensei Suino, Hanchi Legacy. But for now, we're just going to jump right into a chat. So we were talking just before the cameras were turned on about what it means to be aging and to be older in the martial arts, to be a sensei as you get older. So I'm not going to start this topic off. I am the youngest guy in the call, but I do have some thoughts about it. But I'd love to hear. Let's start with you, Hanchi. Where do you want to jump into this topic?
Well, as much as you train all your life and you're charging forward, senseis or teachers of all types, we're all human beings. We're all going to get older. We're all going to get something that's going to take our lives. We're all going in the same direction. But the thing that changes in your martial art is your physical ability. And then when you're in the dojo all the time and the students see you, you're waning as you get older, over 65, things start to change. And you just sort of, you can see it yourself. And I just sort of just want to let it out there that, while the senseis are senseis, they're still human beings. And then when things start going in different directions, say like my students now are getting better. They're going and they're learning Iaido from Sensei Suino, and they're learning Jiu-Jitsu. And I'm not going in that direction. I'm too old to start rolling around with anybody. Well, maybe I'm not, but I'm going to say I'm too old. So what happens to the sensei at that time when the dojo is expanding and he's getting older and he's starting to slow down? I mean, I don't want to make it sad, but it's a fact, just so that when you get here, you realize that the students still have to do the martial arts. They still have to keep the quality up while you're easing into the background, going into your natural state.
Sensei Suino, let's throw it over to you to pick up from there.
Well, sure. I may want to rotate back and talk about kind of my own experience, but I want to address Hanchi's position in the world of martial arts and in our world of Punch, Kick, Choke, Chat, Legacy, Shorin-Ryu, the Iaido that we do together. Sensei, Hanchi, you've always been a spiritual leader in a way, right? That even when you were still fighting, like a 65-year-old, and leading in a physical manner, you've always been a aspirational role model for everybody, right? How to think, and that's just become even more clear as we've done this show, and to be able to listen to you talk about martial arts in a way that is so clear and profound. It just seems like what happens is the dial shifts, right? It's like you become a different kind of leader, less physical. I mean, of course, I see that in myself, and I'm 100% in denial. I'm taking every vitamin known to man. I'm exercising. I ignore the pain. I'm going to every doctor I can think of to try to stave off the inevitable parts of aging. But I also feel that needle swinging a little bit, becoming more of a. I always joke that my next goal in life is to become Yoda. That's half a joke, and the other half, it's not a joke, in that part of it is your physical techniques become more efficient, but eventually, you don't have the ability to execute physically. I have a different ability now, but I take more and more satisfaction in the role as a leader, if that makes sense, and not a leader in terms of being able to do kata better than everybody else or be able to pin everybody on the ground, but a leader in the sense that people look to me for that little bit of wisdom that I managed to gain in almost 62 years. That's my first thought on it. First thought out the gate.
Yeah.
Sensei Dolphin, where do you go with that?
I feel, actually, I wrote a couple of notes, and then as Sensei Suino talked, I started to feel pretty emotional about things, to be honest with you, Sean, because
First of all, I'm not talking about Gary Legacy.
Yeah.
I'm talking about any karate master, somebody who's an 8th, 9th, or 10th Dan. I didn't want to make it personal.
Mm,
I just went about everybody out there who's a Udansha.
yeah. Well,
know,
sorry,
who
we couldn't help it. We couldn't help it being a little personal.
Okay, I'm out of
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Sensei Dauphin?
Yeah, I can't relate because I'm not, I'm a 51-year-old martial artist. I'm not a 62-year-old martial artist or a 76-year-old martial artist. But I'll tell you that I really miss fighting with Sensei Legacy. Like I really miss it deeply, like on a really super deep level. Like it was, the time I spent doing that with him was like so impactful and pivotal in my life and changed me forever. Like the way I think, the way I work, the way I teach, and so when I say I feel emotional, I just really do. But I also feel really proud when he comes in here and I'm still doing it. And I hope I'm doing it the way that he taught me to do it. And I hope I'm that link in the chain to move people on. I had a similar experience with Sensei Suino recently. He might not even, moments in time, you don't realize it, right? Sensei Suino and Dan and Miller and I were together in the dojo. And when it came time to do a particular set of cuts, Sensei Suino just left the floor and said, "You guys do them." And he just went over and watched so one, I was sad because I like doing the entire system with Sensei Suino as many times as I possibly can. I really like it. Like very similar to fighting with Sensei Legacy, being alone in the dojo and just doing those cuts over and over again quietly without much talking. You can't explain it to somebody who's never done it. But again, I hope when he was sitting off watching the three of us, he was proud of what he saw. And what I would say, I guess, a thing is, Sensei Suino and Sensei Legacy have done their job. They have done their job and they're doing their job. There are other people in the next generation firmly established, and those people really care about finding the next generation. Like for me, I can't look beyond that. Like I can't look beyond the generation beyond me. Like I can only find the next ones that I hope will carry it on when, and God willing, I'm 76 or 80, and I'll remember these lessons that I learned from my teachers. And I guess the last thing, Sean, I don't want to go on too much, but like, what's the alternative, right? Like, what is Sensei Legacy still doing his karate? Sensei Suino is still doing his Iaido. Sensei Suino is still doing physical fitness. Sensei Legacy, there's still riding his motorcycle. Like, these things are still happening. What's the alternative? What do? You just fucking go sit on your couch and die? I don't know. Like, I don't see any of us doing that. Kenny Ibuzaki did kata until like 3 days before he died. And he was very aged at that point. And I guess the last practical thing I'll say, Sean, is, I take that 50-pound kettlebell and I do like 20 Turkish get-ups with it, this many clean press lunges. When I can't do 20 anymore, when I can only do 19, I'm going to do 19 for as long as I fucking can do 19. And when I can't do 19 anymore, I'm going to do 18 for as many fucking days as I can do 18. And I think that's it. I think, yeah. And I know Sensei Legacy, you and I have talked about this because I know history repeats itself, and Benny Allen often talked to you about stuff like that. Like the young guys don't value me anymore. They don't value what I have to teach them, and they don't. Well, I can tell you, this generation behind you and since we still fucking value what you guys have to say. And you opened every door and pulled me along. And when you don't want to, I'm gonna be bugging you. I'm glad that our relationships are good enough that I'll be able to bug you, Sensei Suino, and you, Sensei Legacy, and say, we need to go do this. You got to go do this. Sensei Legacy, you got to be the first 76-year-old to get a black belt in BJJ.
Not gonna happen.
What do you think, Benson? What are your thoughts?
I wrote down 3 things too. And again, you know, I'm 47 and I don't have the same feeling toward this as some of you might and Sensei, but I wrote down something here. You said the most important thing I think of all for me listening, Hanshi, which is we're human beings. And, you know, Superman has no value to us without the concept of kryptonite. Because without kryptonite, he just wins everything and that's it. There's no comic book, there's no story, there's no hero. But the fact that he's fallible makes us not just care, but learn from him. And so that you're a human is why the sensei part works. And for me, that's what gets exciting because, and this is true for everybody on this call, I want to train with you more in 10 years than the 45-year-old version of you. I want to train with Sensei Dolphin at 65 more than him at 25. And I was lucky enough to train with you, Hanshi, at 47, I think, and Sensei you at 25. And it was awesome. But I'm not training with you because of what you can do. I'm training with you because of the path you're showing me. So then I get to walk a lit path that includes my own diversions here and there, but I'm on the path you're showing me. And that has nothing, actually. I mean, it's a physical art. But God, that gives me goosebumps to think about that. I'm so lucky that I have 3 men on this call who are lighting fucking paths for me. So jumping, spinning roundhouse kick to the temple, I don't know. I don't even know if I can do that today with my meniscus, but so I have injuries that are relevant-ish. But no, for me, it's about what you're showing me as men who happen to be my senseis. Because if you weren't men, if you were superhuman, it wouldn't help me because I'm not.
I like that, Ben. The last thing I'm going to throw out is a bit of humor on that is anybody who's ever watched this show or does again, Sensei Legacy is the last one on the show of the hosts or anybody we've ever had on that you want to fucking reverse punch you. At 76 or any age, you don't want him fucking reverse punching you on the tip of the chin. Or you're moving to the next level in a hurry.
I want to throw this back to Sensei Suino in case you did want to circle back to not just what Hanshi talked about, but your own experience.
Yeah, well, I can tell you something that I feel like my glass is really much more than half full on this topic. And that is, you know, I always joke, Randy and I joke with this vernacular. I always say, look, I'm not normal, right? Or when people ask about Randy, I go, you know, he's not normal. And all of us on this call are also able to do shit that people just can't do for our age group, right? I mean, when I look around at other people, you know, in my high school class, I go, man, am I blessed to be able to do the physical things and do the adventures that I do that most of those folks probably can't do anymore. You know, I mean, we'll probably talk about it more, but, you know, Randy and a few others of us just went up in the Wyoming mountains and hiked. And, you know, all of us, including myself, we threw on 40-pound packs and went up to 10,000 feet. We're fine. We're fine, right? Had a lot of fun doing it. That, you know, and then showed up the next day back in Ann Arbor, went to the dojo and put in 5 hours of training. Like, fuck, how many people can do that? Blessed, right? Not because it's a slog, not because it's hard work, because I fucking love it, right? And so that's the flip side of all this. The yin and yang is, yeah, you get older and you lose some stuff, but meanwhile, man, holy shit! Like, look at the lives we're living. It's an amazing path to be on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I told myself every day, says, you know, I said this to them every morning when I woke up. I said, don't be a whiny bitch for the rest of the day. Just be quiet and fucking march up the mountain. Don't be a whiny bitch.
$5 in the kitty if you start whining.
So by the way, just so the people watching know, you know, Robert, who helps run the show from behind the scenes every night, almost that he can, he's part of our team, part of the PKCC founding members, and he is sort of hosting the show tonight because as we do the Ask Me Anything, he's feathering the questions in more so than I am, which I normally do when I'm, you know, centrally hosting our guests. And the reason I say that is because he just threw out, shocker, a great question from Sydney Dauphin that fits right in with what we're talking about. And I can't wait to hear what y'all think. So we'll start with you, Hanshi Legacy. So this is from Sydney. How should our responsibilities as students change or shift at all, if at all, as our senseis age? Should that change, and how?
I think so, yeah. I think that uh, if a guy is, say 75 years old, we'll just use that. A person is 75 years old and you've been a student for a long time. You must know your sensei very closely. You must know him for a long time, intimately. So you should be a little bit in touch with what type of a person he is, whether he's a loner or he's a guy, you could call once a month and say hi, stuff like that. Like if all of a sudden you start aging and the guys that used to hang around with you every day are no longer there, and things start changing, you start sort of floating out. It's easier for you to let the older person float out than the older person, if you understand what I mean. Because you're looking back and the other people are, in your eyes, are still training really hard or still doing things. So, it doesn't have to be training with the person every day on the floor, but just keeping in touch and making them realize they're still part of the club and stuff like that, I guess. I'm just guessing.
Thanks, Hanchi. Different age, different place in the dojo right now. Sensei Suino, what do you think, if at all, the shift should be for your students as you get a little older?
100%. I don't know. You've probably seen that meme. There's a funny or sort of cartoonish meme going around where there's two panels, and the top panel is whoever the teacher of the Ninja Turtles was, right? And he's walking the Ninja Turtles holding hands when they're little kids, and he's walking toward the camera. And then the bottom panel is he's an old man, crippled up old man with a cane, and the Ninja Turtles are holding his hands, his arms, and guiding him, right? That's the extreme example. In the meantime, all that stuff changes, right? You're getting older, but your students are growing as people. They're growing as martial artists. The beauty of all of our relationship on the call, right, is we know each other a lot better now than we did 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, from having these conversations. My students know me better. I know them better. And I fully expect them to get more mature, which not only means that they're getting deeper in their martial arts, but they understand how to support me, running a dojo, or just to the extent I'm friends with them. Some people who are on this call have transcended pure student status and become, I don't know what you call that. They're more like family than martial arts students, right? So just like Hanshi said, they know me well enough to be able to support me in ways that it's not just, jumping when I say in the dojo, hey, demonstrate something. So there's a whole complex, a whole rich tapestry of stuff as we get to know each other better. They get mature, they help me, I help them. That's part of that journey we're just talking about.
I failed to look at it from the other way, I guess, in a sense, because I really looked up to my senseis. To me, I was a student, so I needed the sensei. That was the main part. And I never ever, on any of my senseis, ever left or anything like that. I always stayed really close. As a matter of fact, I might have been a pain in the ass because I always try to get as much time from my senseis as possible. I heard something Cesar Bukowski said about me one time that sort of got me laughing. And it ends in, oh yeah, he'll come and learn everything that you know, and then he'll leave. He just said that as a sort of a joke. And I guess that was my pitch as far as being a student, or be a student to Richard Kim, and just being able to be near him and listen to him, and talk to him once in a while.
Sensei Dauphin, what do you think about shifts in students' responsibilities as you get older, or yours toward Hanchi, or anyone's out there?
I'm gonna be pretty bold, Sean. I said in the beginning, I wasn't like the best at anything. As a matter of fact, when I got my yellow belt, Sensei Legacy said, you by far are not the best one that graded today, but if I was gonna pick anybody to be a black belt, I'd pick you. That's what he said. The one thing I would say that I've always been good at, above average, is being a student. And I'm going to continue to be an above average student all the way through. And I think a lot of students just lose sight of what it is to be a student. And they just think being a student is learning some techniques, or it's so much more than that, Sean.
Mm.
I just had lunch with Sensei Legacy knows this guy, Steve Zukic, who is my high school best friend, great Montreal Canadiens fan. And his mom was down, and they messaged me. They were like, "We're in St. Jacobs. Do you have time?" I said, "Your mom is here. You're fucking right. I got time. Like, let's hook up." And when we sat down, she was like, she calls me Ran. She doesn't call me Randy. She just calls me Ran. She said, "Ran, it's so nice to see you. I've known you." Like, and I said, "Listen, there are 5 people in my life who have raised me. My mom and dad, who are both dead, right? They're both gone. You, Linda McKellar, Gary Legacy, and Nick Swino. Those are the 5 people. 3 of you are still here. It's family." Sensei Swino just said that. Like, it's not, this is not about like just recreational pastime that we get together to do together. It's about knowing each other on a different level. I want to be a good student. It's a driving force for me. When Sensei Legacy or Sensei Swino thinks about me, I want them to think that guy's an example of what other students should be like. If I had a dojo full of students like that, that would be a great dojo. Now, having said that, as a student, your star starts to rise at a certain point. If you listen to what your teacher says, they're going to put you in positions to succeed before you're ready to even succeed on your own. You're going to win a tournament. You're going to be sitting at a table with a person you have no business sitting next to. They're going to get to know you. All these fucking doors are going to start opening to you. Your star is going to rise. And then you have to ask yourself, what kind of a student are you? Do you just leave everything behind you that put you in that position? Or do you make sure you bring it all along with you? And you make sure that you have all that strength with you as you move forward. I know Sensei Suino probably hasn't liked everything I've done in martial arts or every decision I've made. And I definitely know Sensei Legacy hasn't. But I will tell you something, they've known about everything before it was a decision. And if you're a student, your responsibility as you move forward is to make sure that your sensei knows about the things that are happening before you've decided on them, not after you've decided on them. Once you've decided on what you're going to do, then your sensei is not playing a part in that anymore. And I think that's bullshit, personally. That's what I have to say about that.
I love that. I love that. I'm really hearing that. And, you know, I don't have a whole ton to add. I want to speak from where I'm at, and that is trying to grow the best Toronto representation of this martial art I can. And that's something I think about as Hanshi, you get older, and Sensei, not so much. We're really close in age, but I think one of my responsibilities is to give what I've been given. That's the biggest one I'm focused on right now, is to go, great, how can we make the Toronto club more vibrant, more present, more of a real thing in Toronto that exists, that people can come to, and it all floods back to my teachers. So that's the way I'm looking at it. So I'm just going to leave it at that for myself. Well, it's 9 o'clock, and we could keep talking about this the whole time.
Hey,
but
I gotta ask though, like, I would have liked to have seen Sydney. When those people ask the questions, the ask me anything questions, they don't get to come on the screen? Or that's
What do
a
you
question for Robert. You
Robert,
could
what do you
turn your
think?
camera on, but turn your microphone on and tell us what we're supposed to do with that. He's probably burping a baby or something right now.
Okay, he said, I think no, because of the more rapid fire AMA style, but let's turn Sydney's on though, he said. So, it is what it is. Martial arts privilege. Let's say hi to Sid.
Yeah, martial arts privilege.
Hey, Sid.
Hey,
Hey,
what's going on?
Great question.
thanks. Just out at work on the ocean.
Nice.
How would you answer that question, Sydney? Or what did you think of the answers that were given? How would you answer it?
Yeah, it was an interesting one because, you know, I don't know, I think I'm a considerate person. I think I can say that. And I have like watched a lot of my uncles and parents and aunts age, like as I've come up and grown up, and but I never know, what Uncle Gary said about, push us a bit or nudge them into the dojo again. It's like, where is the line, or what's too much, or what shouldn't, what kinds of support, I guess, was like, obviously we all need support, and age is like, everyone will need that support one day. But just, the specific in the dojo, what kind, if it's, just turning to your sensei just as like a revered leader, right, in the leadership style, what Sensei Suino was talking about, or if it's, let them be not as much of a figurehead, like maybe you don't want your face at the front of the dojo anymore, and that's, you want to focus on your own training or whatever it is. But I learned a lot from everyone's answers.
I like what you said, Sid, because I think what I heard, you could correct me if I'm wrong, is if you're a good student, you're going to let the sensei be whatever they want to be, and you're going to help them to be whatever it is they want to be on that day, that month, that year, or whenever it is. And I think that's a great answer.
Yeah, and I guess that was my question, was how can I help you guys be what you want to be now for the dojo?
You just need to be Sydney Dauphin. That's all.
I don't know if they know, Sydney, that they're going to be seeing you in November. I don't know if they know that.
Ooh.
Oh,
Yeah, I was looking at flights today. I have some different options for how I can take time off work and stuff, but I figured I'd talk to you about that later. But yeah,
Wow.
Capital Conquest for sure.
that would be great. Yeah.
Love it.
Love you, Sid.
Love you too. Love you all.
Love you too, Sid. See you soon.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
Bye, Uncle Gare.
Well, everybody, it's time for introductions. Welcome to Punch, Kick, Choke, Chat. I love this new discussion format. It feels so good by the time we get to these intros. And with special permission from Sensei Suino, who I normally introduce, I'm going to shift gears a little tonight. And I'd just like to introduce Sensei Randy Dauphin. Wow, I just got emotional because of some of the stuff we were talking about. He's a 7th degree black belt in Legacy Shorin-ryu and a 7th degree black belt in Hakatsuru White Crane. Wow, I didn't think this was going to happen. And a 4th degree black belt in the Ido. I thought about this before the show, and then some of the stuff we talked about really got to me. Earlier on this site that I follow on Instagram, it's called the Words of Musashi. Somebody posted, "You can only fight the way you practice." And I posted, I didn't say Randy Dauphin, his tag is Shorai One. I said, Shorai One teaches me this every single time and has taught me this, that I've stood in front of him. And when you're reading these, deep prophetic words that people are quoting, it's a fun site to follow. And you realize, fuck, 26 years ago, I rode my motorbike to a park in Cambridge because Hanshi Legacy, as I was leaving Western Ontario and I was going to Toronto, he goes, train with him this summer. He can teach you everything I would teach you. He's my top student as far as what you need right now. And so I went and I met him in a park. And he's a brother, he's a best friend, and he's my teacher for life. And I can't say much more or I won't be able to finish it because I love you, Sensei. And I just wanted to be able to introduce you tonight because there's not a thing I learn in this life that you haven't taught me in one form or another. You haven't said a version of it in one form or another, at least in the last 20 years. And I just want to say thank you for that. So thank you.
You're welcome. And if anybody doesn't know, my handle Shorai, that's the Japanese word for future, and Sensei Legacy started calling me that a few decades ago. And so then I made it my email address, and now it's like people use it and they don't understand what it is, but Sensei Legacy gave me that. He called it my Zen name probably, I don't know, at least 26 or 27 years ago. So I'm not sure. So I'm going to start jumping around here since Benson screwed it up.
Fucked it all up.
since he
I fucked it all up.
greatly screwed it up, that's great. I'm gonna introduce Sensei Suino, Sensei Nicholas Suino, who I've been trading with now for 30 years. I'm really proud of that. I'm not a quitter in Iaido. So Sensei Suino is one of the most remarkable people I've ever met in my entire life. I always tell people that if you want to see somebody achieve greatness or excel towards something, being the greatest at anything, you want to watch Sensei Suino. If he opens a door, he opens it better than anybody who ever opened that door ever before him. Like, period.
Alright.
End of story. He also swears. He also likes to drink beer. He likes to eat good food. His wife and his daughter are fantastic. He's a very welcoming person. If you've never been to the Japanese Martial Arts Center, it's an outstanding place to go. A lot of my thinking about what a community should be like has been influenced by Sensei Suino and what I see at the Japanese Martial Arts Center. People there are outstanding, super highly skilled martial artists, very welcoming, friend. Like I can't describe it well enough. You have to go and experience it to actually know it. So, and Sensei Suino and I actually were just, again, we were with Mancini and Miller and Holland, earning every beautiful view and every mouthful of fish and everything in Wyoming. And thank you, Sensei Suino, for dragging us all there, leading us there. And then Miller took over, and you and I let him attract all the bugs from half the football field away while we marched behind. I think I'm going to introduce Sensei Legacy, and then we'll let Sensei Suino say a couple of things and Sensei Legacy say a couple of things, because it feels like one of those kumbaya loving moments tonight. Sensei Legacy, as I said, has been honestly probably him and my mother are probably the two most impactful figures in my entire life. I can never repay either of them for everything that they've done for me. I'll try every day for my living days to do that, to repay them. Sensei Legacy's a 10th degree black belt. He earned that. He fucking earned that every day of his life, and he still earns it. He's not sitting back saying, I'm a 10th then. He earns it every day that he wakes up. He continues to earn his 10th degree black belt. His 10th degree black belt was given to him by Anthony Sandoval. Anthony Sandoval is another spectacular human being. If you've never been around him, he's an incredible man, like just an incredible man. Super skilled, like that's a given. If he puts his hands on you, like when people say, oh, he's this, he's that, and I'm like, oh yeah, well, he fucking kicked me in the leg before, and he grabbed the hold of my fucking arm before. So I don't care what you think the lies are. I know what the truth is. I also know that he's a wonderful human being, and was always a wonderful human being, and trained with so many people in Okinawa. And that's who graded Sensei Legacy to his 10th. And Sensei Legacy didn't even want it. And he just said, no, you're going to have it because I can do it and I'm going to do it. I remember him saying that. So that's, but you know, we were talking about it in here tonight. Sensei Legacy also trained with Richard Kim for a long amount of time. He also trained with Benny Allen, who I think is probably his most influential instructor. And he also trained with Harold Warden. And one of the things they said about Harold Warden was, that guy's a good man. When he realized that he had a person standing in front of him that he really couldn't control, and he really couldn't teach, and he really couldn't take to his best possible levels, he said, I'm going to put you in with this guy, Benny Allen. What if Harold Warden was an asshole and just didn't do that? Like, and just thought, oh, I'm going to keep him here, and I'm going to, so wherever you are today, Sensei Warden, thank you for doing that. You made all our lives better by doing that. And I'm always excited to see Sensei Legacy. I'll say that, like, I'm always excited, passionate, pumped up whenever I get the chance to be around him, because I know we're going to talk about martial arts. We're going to laugh our asses off. We're going to tell good stories. We're going to ride motorcycles. We're going to have fun. It's just going to be fun. So anyway, I don't know who to punch it to. Sensei Suino, what do you want to say about anybody on this call?
Well, nobody's introduced Sean really. And I don't know if I'm the best person to do it, but I'll take a shot. I remember the first memory I have of Sean is in Hanchi's dojo in St. Thomas above the convenience store, doing Iaido. And I just remember how he was able to get into the, get the first 90% of the motions down so fast. It was just remarkable to see. And then he kind of came in and out of my experience just because he's been very busy, a very accomplished person. I know Sean really mostly in the martial arts, and I'm fully aware of his success as an actor, but I don't really know the details of it. So I pulled up his IMDb page, and it's just astonishing to see how many films and movies and other things that Sean's done over the years. I don't know that I ever understood the full length of that list. And anybody that follows the show ought to pull it up and see what he's worked on and some of the people he's worked with. It's kind of remarkable. But I would say, other than the personal memories of hanging around on my front porch late at night after training, etc., I think my favorite memories in the last couple of years with Sean are at the training events we've had in Kitchener, where I walk my janky ass green belt karate self out and get paired with Sean and get to quote unquote fight with him for an hour or two during these seminars. And it just is so much fun, because I've known him in all these other capacities, to get in such deep water with him and see how good he is at that, and know that he's taking good care of me while we're training that way. Like everybody does in Legacy Shorin-ryu, capable of fucking you, punching you in the nose, but also capable of shepherding you along the path a little bit. So anyway, I don't know how long it's been now, Sean, but it's been a long time, and look where we are now. Fucking cool, if you ask me.
It's fucking cool, man. It's fucking cool. And I like when you said we'll fuck you in the we'll punch you in the nose. We'll fuck you in the nose too.
Well, whatever you say,
wants.
you do
That's,
you. Big guy.
That's on our new Legacy shirts. We'll fuck you in the nose.
Love it.
And while people are trying to figure out what that means, we'll hit them. On that note, if you're watching, you're seeing 4 adults have a convo about nose fucking. If you don't like it, you can fuck a bag of noses.
Sean, we got to let Sensei Lacey give any thoughts he wants about what we've all been talking about.
Well, I like to say something about Sean as well. What I've noticed over the years, we're just watching Sean train. He's a highly intelligent guy. He's got probably a really high IQ.
You said probably.
Probably. Well, I'm just saying that because I don't know for sure, but I think just by being around him, the guy is a great martial artist. Like he's a good martial artist. He's a good fighter. He's a good kata man. I watch all his students. They're all good. They move like him a little bit. He's an actor. I mean, I don't think I have ever personally met him. He's always in some sort of in an act mode. So I'm sitting at home one day. He comes over to stay with me for a week or something, just to hang around. And he sees I have drums in my living room. He walks over, says, "Hey, you mind if I try these?" Sits down. He's playing jazz on my drums. Get off my drums. He comes by about maybe 3 or 4 years later. I thought, well, I had a bass guitar in my house. Oh, you got a bass guitar? He sits down, plays the music. He's successful at everything that he can do. You can only chalk it up to having a really high IQ, or being really intelligent or really open mind. So that's how I look at him as an entire human being. Everything else will fall somehow under that.
Well, he chose his parents wisely.
Wow.
That's for sure.
Yeah, because they were both super fucking intelligent people too, or are. Well, his dad still is, and his mom was super intelligent.
Thanks, Hanchi. I appreciate that very much. We're into the show. Thank you. Wow. This is a fucking deep show for me. I appreciate it. This is our Ask Me Anything show. And Robert's got some questions queued up that people have been sending in throughout the week. We post that stuff on our Instagram channel. So by the way, if you're with us tonight with Zoom, keep firing those questions. Robert already lit up the bottom chat button. And if you're watching us on YouTube live, great. We're so glad you're here. Smash the subscribe, the like button. And then again, make sure you're following what's the exact site that they should be following? Legacy Shore and Rue? Is that for our,
Let's not talk about a site because we have
right.
big things coming.
great. I was thinking of the Instagram page, but that's where we've been getting some questions as
Oh,
well.
yeah,
So
yeah. Legacy Shore and Rue right now, but
awesome. So for now,
Yeah.
Legacy Shore and Rue, follow that anyways. And then that's where you'll see who our guests are and tee it all up if you aren't already doing that. Robert, what do you got for us? What's our first Ask Me Anything? Oh, whoo. All right. Well, I'm going to take central host prerogative and kick this to Sensei Dauphin, and then we'll go around the horn. Any advice for someone trying to get into shape, Sensei Dauphin?
advice to getting into shape.
Yep.
Don't look for exponential progress, look for incremental progress. You know, assess a few core things in your physicality. One would be your flexibility. Two would be your endurance. Three would be your strength. Just put those three things on a board and give yourself a rating from 1 to 10. And then whichever one is the lowest, spend a little more time on that, right? So if you're you know, if you can bench press a Volkswagen Beetle, but you can't run to the end of the parking lot, well, maybe you should spend a little extra time running, getting your cardiovascular going. If you can't touch your toes, maybe you should stretch a little bit. I guess one thing I'll say that don't worry about how you look, worry about how you feel. Like, don't stand in the mirror, because if you stand in the mirror and look at how you look, then everything you do is going to be based on that. And I promise you that if you do what I said, you write those three things on the board and then you work away at it, like you just stretch a little more, lift a little more, eventually you're going to like what you see in the mirror a lot more. Like, you're just going to be like, oh, I'm pretty proud of what this is happening. But if you're looking in the mirror all the time and trying to drive it from that direction, you're going to struggle. And then I would say you probably can do more than you think you can do. You can, you know, you're going to make excuses for yourself about, oh, this or that. Like, no, those aren't reasons. Those are excuses. If you did it 9 times today, try and do it 10 times tomorrow. And if you can't do it 10 times tomorrow, do it 9 times today until you can do it 10 times tomorrow. Don't try and go from 9 to 36 the next day as much as you want to, right? And then I guess I would say find somebody who can help you do it and hold you accountable to it. That would be the final thing, is find a good person who's already walked that walk and can help you do it. Right.
That's awesome. So by the way, Robert just told me that we got tons of AMA questions. Ask me anything. So the way I'm going to try and do this is I'll throw it to somebody for the main answer, and then we'll go rapid fire follow up if you want. So is there anything you want to add to that rapid fire, Hanshi?
Run. Run's going to take, it's, if you can't do anything else, run. That's, to me, that's my quick thing.
Awesome. Sensei Suino?
I'm just doubling down on find somebody. And the thing I want to add to that, yeah, there's lots of good coaches out there and things, but I think it's a lot like martial arts. If you find somebody that makes you happy you're there, like somebody you really like, or somebody you really care about impressing, man, that makes the other part easy, right? It doesn't matter what your reasons are, but it's like, if you go, God damn it, I've got to, you know, I can't wait to go, you know, if you hate them, probably not the best training partner. But if they jack you up, they motivate you, then absolutely 100% team up with them and they'll help you a lot.
Nice. I'm going to tag on. That's a little similar to that. Sensei Suino, the best gym in town is the one you go to. And so if it's a CrossFit gym, great. If it's the karate gym, great. If it's the, you know, powerlifting, whatever gets you through the door is the thing that will get you in shape and be sustainable. You're an animal and you move your way and you get turned on by your things, and anything that is outside of that, you'll try and meet, but you'll end up failing. When you find that thing that vibrates you, run toward it, run toward it. I love the say, man.
Coming home, Christine. I'm on my way, Christine.
Okay, question from Zephyrin. Oh, this is great. I'm going to start with you, Hanshi, and then we'll rapid fire. Hanshi, what is something that you love that you weren't expecting to find when you started? What is something in the art you fell in love with that you weren't expecting to find when you started?
That I developed what I really, I never expected to develop the feeling that I have for it, even though it's just an art. I guess you could say it's a little bit like a ballet dancer who's found something that they can be creative in. That's what I thought. I thought I was just gonna go to karate and then just be able to fight, just physically. I can pop you in the face, go to school and do this. But it's a little bit like being dyed. You get this dye, like you have an orange glow or a blue glow or whatever, but there is something inside in martial arts, whereas you can do EI, you can do karate, you can do jujitsu. That's all external, but all the inside turns the same color. It all grows from that.
Right on. Sensei Dauphin, you want to add to that?
The ability to endure the difficult.
Sensei Suino?
Yeah, and I might term it a slightly different way. The ability to link emotionally the outcome and the work. Right? So then the work doesn't become work. The work becomes a means to an end. It changes how you feel about the work.
Love that. For me, Hanshi talked about my talent, and I do have the ability to pick things up quickly, but martial arts taught me how to learn. I learned how to learn in karate. I didn't think that was going to be part of it because I was pretty smart. So I was good at stuff quick, but I'd never gotten good at learning stuff in high school. Karate, by being harder than anything I'd ever done, taught me how to learn. Next question, Sensei Suino, you get to be the central figure answering this one. Other than martial arts, what's a talent of yours?
Have to ask my wife.
Hey,
Hey, she's on this call. I might be in trouble. What's a talent of mine? God damn it. I'm blessed with a lot of talents and little follow through. Happily, the follow through in martial arts has stuck with me. I am apparently able to come up with a lot of good ideas in a short time, and every now and then one sticks. I don't know. Fuck, man. I'm having a lot of fun.
You can string a bunch of written words together really well.
Done that once or twice. Yeah. I have no fucking idea.
Hanshi legacy outside of martial arts, what's a talent of yours?
It'd be hard to say, I guess. I know what the Montreal Canadiens are doing.
I'll tell you, Benson, that guy can ride the fuck out of a motorcycle. I'll tell you that right now.
Is that a talent?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's get a stranger and put him on your bike and see how far we can fucking get
See
down
how
the
far
road.
down the road they go before they owe you a lot of money for scraped up metal. Sensei Dauphin, talent outside of the martial arts?
I can catch a fish, motherfucker. I'm telling you that right now.
Fucking
Anyway.
obsessive. In a,
Off
I mean,
of
that's a
the
good
curb.
way.
You can catch a fish off of a curb.
He can motivate me too. I'll be sitting around the campfire and I'll go, motherfucker, now I gotta go fishing too.
Hey, I will got a chair, Benz. I know we're gonna get to yours too, but we walked up for 3 days into this mountain, and so then I hear at the campfire, I think it was Dan or Miller said, where's Randy? And one of the others said, he's fishing. And Sensei Suino goes, what a surprise, right? I can hear them all like saying this, right? And then I come into camp and I go, Sensei Suino, what is this fish? And he goes, holy fuck, man, you just caught a grayling. That's on my bucket list. Then all of a sudden he's out there. And then, so I'm happy that I helped Sensei Suino achieve one of his, because Sensei Suino is a great fisherman. He is an amazing outdoorsman, a great fisherman. And I was with him when he checked off grayling off of his bucket list. And I'm happy that I led him to that. I was the one who, and then I won't tell you the story about Dan Holland climbing up the side of a mountain trying to get a cell phone signal so he could find out if we had to let these go or eat them. Benson. Okay, Benson, you're not allowed to say acting. You're not allowed to say you're not allowed to say music. You're not allowed to say you're not allowed to say mountain biking.
Okay.
Mountain biking off the list.
Okay. I know exactly what it is. My actual greatest talent on this planet, I believe, is when two people are missing each other, I can tell what each one is trying to say and where they're miscommunicating. And it's one of the bonuses of growing up with parents who were drunk every night, is that when they were missing each other and you're 5 years old, you're like, I know what you're trying to say, Mom. I know what you're missing, Dad. If you would only have heard this. And I'm actually quite good at it. And I think it's a talent born of a crappy situation that serves me very well. Yeah.
I think you're really good, Sean, at knowing your own weaknesses and doing the work that you need to make sure that those things don't haunt you or destroy you, because you've been very disciplined about staying sober. And there's been every opportunity for you to not be sober. You've been very successful. You've been to many parties with many people, doing many things. And I know you well enough to know that you're sitting in that room going, I could probably just do that tonight, but you don't. And
Appreciate that, Sensei.
yeah, I think you're great. I think your hidden talent is staying sober.
I
And,
appreciate that. And you know
yeah.
what it translates? Like, I blow out a meniscus and it's like, great, we're getting down to the work. We're going to do the work. We're going to get up again and do the work. 4 months later, we're able to be back in the ring. That comes from that sobriety. That comes from the weakness and working on it. And by the way, you can't be karate, you said, but that comes from martial arts. I learned that in martial arts. Okay, we'll give this 1 second each. Should pineapple be allowed on pizza? Sensei Suino.
100%.
Sensei Dauphin.
Yeah, I love pineapple.
Hachi Legacy, pineapple on pizza.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I'm glad we're on the like 100%. 4 for 4.
100%. Okay, you haters, get off my call.
Now, Sean, if a pineapple should be allowed on your porch or upside down is a different topic.
Oh, yes. You know I'm about the lifestyle. If you know, you know, call me. Okay, question for Pam Suino. I'm actually going to throw this over to Hachi Legacy to start with. Do you guys, what do you guys think about defending against multiple opponents? If so, how do you plan for it? And what are some strategies you've thought about? And let's allow a little more discussion on this. This is a nice topic for, what a great question, Pam.
Sometimes, believe it or not, I believe that sometimes it's good because they themselves get in each other's way or get confused. It depends how many there are, 2 or 3 or 4, because you're going to do different things. You know, you can manage 2 people just by simply trying to handle the smallest or the weakest one first. If the person is bigger, use your legs because that'll reach further out. And if they're in a group, make sure that you put your back to something so that you only have to look at 180 degrees. You don't have to be trying to look at 360 degrees in order to defend yourself, right? So I don't know how much more involved she wants to get into that, but I'm leaving a little bit of room for everyone else. So first, get yourself in a safe position, right? So it's okay to face 2 people, but more, it's too tough, right? And if there's 3 or more, you want to get your back up against something so that everybody's always at 360 degrees. Always try to knock out the smallest guy first, because he'll be easier to knock out, and then you will just be by yourself with the big guy. You know, they're trying to beat up the big guy, little guy can run over and get a baseball bat and hit you with it or throw rocks at you, etc. So there's a lot more, but I'm just gonna leave that like that. And hopefully that you can all add to this.
Right on. Let's go to you, Sensei Dauphin. Where do you go with that?
I was gonna say something about nose fucking, but that's probably not.
There goes all my good sense.
I agree with everything that Sensei Legacy said. I've never actually, the only place I've fought multiple opponents is in the dojo. So I've never had an on the sidewalk confrontation with more than one person before. I will say that if you're watching this, I'm going to pontificate a little bit. Sensei Legacy's actually fought more than one person at the same time. And I spoke to the person who witnessed him fighting 4 people at one time. The backstory is a road rage situation. A young woman in the front seat with a baby in her arms, and Sensei Legacy is in the back seat and says, pull in this parking lot and drive away. And the guy driving the car said, I'm not going to drive. And he said, pull in this parking lot and drive away. So the guy pulled in the parking lot, Sensei Legacy slid out. The guy drove to the other side of the parking lot, which is why he could tell the story. And 4 guys came running at Sensei Legacy. And then one of them found himself on his back, shaking and convulsing. And the other 3 guys were like, hey, man, take it easy. Right. So
Allegedly.
Yeah. So that's really framed my thinking a lot. That, you know, I agree with everything. Take the weaker one or whatever if you're initiating. But shock and awe is also a good thing, right? Like when the first one goes down spitting chiclets, I theorize that the other 3 might be a little bit more apprehensive about trying to grab a hold of you, potentially. And then YouTube kind of corroborates what I'm saying, because I've watched many YouTube videos of one skilled person fighting 2 or 3 or 4 less skilled people, and they just seem to go down like fodder. And once 1 or 2 of them go down, the other 2 or 3 seem really a lot less likely. And we're talking about situations where there's no weapons involved, obviously, right? We're talking mano a mano. We're not talking about pistols or blades or clubs. That is a game changer, a different topic entirely.
Yes.
Yep. Sensei Suino?
Yeah, you know, interestingly, I actually had quite a bit of experience in this in my first sort of 12 to 14 years of life. My parents, I've talked about this on this show before. My parents saw fit to move us into a pretty diverse neighborhood, and we were economically distinct from everybody. As a result, I had to fight a lot, and I almost always fought groups of people. And it a couple of things about it. One, it connects with stuff that I know Hanchi's talked about before, and that is you got to expect to get hurt. You got to expect to be able to move through getting hurt. You got to anticipate a lot of chaos. You know, you can't plan for it necessarily. If you're fighting 7 people that all want to punch you or knock you out, there's going to be a lot of chaos about it. But another funny thing that happens, and I don't really know how to explain this, so it's not advice, it's just an observation, and that is that there's a will, right? 1-on-1 in a boxing ring, the person with the strongest will wins. And 1 against 7, if the one has a stronger will, that person can triumph and often can suppress the desire to fight in others. Sometimes it's the way you just described, by showing extreme force against one. We had this knucklehead in like 6th grade who one day at recess said, "You can all attack me at once." And in my head it was like a movie, but there were probably 30 kids that tried to attack this dude, and he won. He knocked the crap out of a bunch of people and collectively eliminated everybody else's will to fight. Right? That was impressive for a 12-year-old dude who, I mean, granted he was strong and athletic. But so my takeaways are: expect chaos, expect to get hurt. Don't let getting hurt stop you from continuing to execute.
Yeah.
And try to have the strongest will. Try to overcome by sheer force of will while you're executing physically. It's probably going to give you a lot better chance than if you are cowering the whole time.
You know,
Um,
Sean, can I
yeah.
just put one thing in before you add? Also,
yeah.
don't live in some fantasy realm, which I think a lot of martial artists live in a fantasy realm. Because you come in the dojo and there's these rules of engagement. The person's going to be nice to you. The sensei is going to stop them. This is going to happen. I've got the best wheel kick on the planet. And then now you're on an icy sidewalk in fucking January with 3 guys, and that wheel kick isn't going to do shit for you, right?
Yep.
Which I guess speaks to what Sensei Suino said, right? Like, it's going to be grimy. You got to be tough. Right? Like, you got to have the will. You said it before, Sean, about being feral. I've heard you say it before, right? Who's the most feral person in the room? That's the one who's going to overcome. And if you're feral and you have good technique, that can only be better. I'm sorry if I stole any of your thunder there.
Not at all. Oh my God. I was just going to add something which has really served me well, which is don't fight them. You know, I've been in a couple of situations where the guy who was coming on to me, I was ready to hit. It seemed like we were on that precipice. And then I clocked his buddies behind him and where they were in relation to exits. And so I just went still and was like, I will if I have to, but I'm not going to throw the first punch. And the things worked out for me. And this has happened many times. So that's a big one for me, is just gauging the situation and going, oh, this guy and me, no problem. Me and his 4 buddies who happen to be wearing patches that say Satan's choice, this doesn't go my way. And even if it goes my way tonight, one day, you know, cocktails coming through my window, and it, you know, it's just not a good thing. And then the last thing I want to throw out that you said, you know, you talked about the idea of suppressing. Well, like, the 4-minute mile was supposed to be unbreakable until Roger Bannister broke it. And within a month, people around the globe are just breaking the 4-minute mile. And so the idea that you have 7 guys who think they're going to beat you, and then the one gets beat, the others now think they can't beat you because they just saw one person not beat you. And I don't know if Nick McLaren got this from you, Hanshi, but just the idea of saying, you'll get me in the end, but the first 2 will die. And people realizing, oh, I'm not fighting you for fun. Like, I will kill 1, I'll kill 2. Yeah, then you'll eat me alive, zombies. But he's gotten out of some situations that way. And I've thought about that. So great question.
Barrel and skill, right?
Barrel and
And just
skill.
so you know, the person who asked that question, Pam Swino, she would have seen the 4 Satan's Choice people behind and had the chair picked out that she was going to crush somebody's skull with, as well as like where the corkscrew was and where the exit was that nobody knew. Like, if my kids are alone in a dark alley with anybody outside of this call, it's going to be Pam Swino. That's
okay, this next question I'm going to throw to you to start with, Sensei Do-fan. I know we're all going to have some thoughts from Christiana. Styles these days tend to cooperate much better than the old days when they were more entrenched. How do you see this philosophy evolving in the next few decades?
I'm not sure. I think there's just because of the proliferation of data and the ability to get information. I think you just got to look at things from today and where it was before, right? Things were competitive before because people were trying to guard what they were doing. And, you know, that was what was drawing people in. I don't think that's what draws people in anymore, right? Like, I really don't think that I think Sensei Copeland's probably super proud to be a Goju-Ryu practitioner, loves Goju-Ryu, blah, blah, blah. But I don't think that's the top thing on his selling point when he's trying to get people to come in the door of his dojo, right? And I think in the past, maybe that was the top selling point, right? Was your style, and your style was better, and your style was better because of, and I think there's still some legitimacy to that, right? If you look at the Isshin-Ryu, Iaido lineage, it's very strong and very deep. But nobody's going to Isshin-Ryu for the shittiest Isshin-Ryu practitioner. Like, they're not going to go. They're going to go somewhere else. Same thing with Shorin-Ryu. And I think, I guess maybe to just cut it short is people are now looking for the human being and more of the similarities and how we can all gain and how we can all work together and make it better for everybody. I see that here in my community. You know, Kiyoshi Freeze and Kiyoshi Rice, they're two of my best friends. They run very large martial arts schools, and we work together often. You know, if somebody walks in the door here and I say, "Oh, you've done martial arts before." Well, where? Oh, with Kiyoshi Adet Rice. Well, then my radar is up if they've left her and they're coming here, because I know her, right? And I know how she runs the school. I know the level that she teaches at. And if they're coming here and they weren't well there, they're probably not going to do well here either. Right. So again, I'm circling back. It's probably data. People know each other. They know what's going on out there, and they know if they can do it or if they can't.
Thanks, Sensei. Sensei Suino, how do you see this philosophy of cooperating growing over the next few decades?
I think it has the potential to make much better martial artists because of all that data. I think it also has a potential for people to just get lost in the data, right? To be like armchair detectives or YouTube experts. But I think some people, you take somebody who's so capable of learning, like let me use GSP as an example, right? Just an incredible guy, an incredible athlete, a great thinker, a guy who's been able to get very high level on a lot of different styles of martial arts and put them into one package. You get somebody like that available with all the data and with all the great nutrition, with all this great sports medicine, with all the great training partners. I think you're going to get really, really good martial artists. And it doesn't have to be in the competitive scene. It doesn't have to be in the UFC. I think, everybody that does, sort of Olympic style karate demonstrations now gets to see everybody else and see what's possible. So I'm sure there'll be a paradigm shift that I don't anticipate, just like when the, BJJ came around. But until that time, I think what you're going to see is some people are going to be able to leverage all this data and become really, really good.
Hanshi, how do you see the cooperation evolving?
Well, that's exactly what it was. It was at first martial arts was kept by certain clans and certain peoples to stay as their own, to defend their families and stuff. So that's what it was. It comes from that. People not telling the Shorin-ryu, not telling the Goju-ryu, the Goju-ryu not telling the Shorin-ryu. That's how it started. But as we moved along and it was dropped, they didn't need that secrecy anymore. And the Goju-ryu had good ideas, Shorin-ryu had good ideas. Now that we all find out, also Isshin-ryu, Matsubayashi, all the others, now that we're finding that out and we're more open to learning better techniques from other people's, I think the tide has changed. And it was our senseis who learned from the persons who initiated it in Canada and the United States. So they want their style to grab at that time. It is probably back in those days were very, very few people who even knew styles. So it was left up to, I believe, I stand to be corrected, but I think it was up to my generation to get the styles together. And once the styles are together now, and that there are a lot of higher ranking belts in Canada and the United States, etc. Well, now they realize that you can learn a lot from GSP, John Terrier, Randy Dauphin. You can learn more. So if your aim is to be a martial artist, to make you your best self, you're going to go looking for those things. Even though your life no longer depends on it, your art does.
Hey, Benz, it kind of builds on Christiana's question, not like specifically, but you once sat in front of Bill Hines and talked about styles because you're going to write a resume. And I believe he said that equipment was one of the things that changed things.
Oh, yeah.
What do you like? I know it's a different direction a little bit, but I think it bears on this topic a little bit.
It's funny because that actually taps right into what my thoughts were. So the way I was thinking about it is, fundamentally, when you add the internet plus the explosion of the UFC and pride fighting, MMA starts to show quote unquote weaknesses and styles, where they end and where the other one starts. And people start to go, okay, if I'm going to win at this, I have to get humble. Because that first UFC, everybody's got their separate styles. You've got a sumo, you got a guy wearing a single boxing glove. It's so separate. And then it starts to blend. But then what I think happens and is happening is that we realize, oh, there's way more throws in Shorin-ryu than we thought. I think that, you see those videos like karate, the original MMA, kung fu, the original MMA, and you see how much of what we're already doing is in there if we address it as that type of bunkai. And so what I actually think it's doing is it's helping break open the classical martial arts in the way it once was, which is an art that needed to defend with bare hands, grabs, stuff like that, that would have been not using gear, not a kickbox style, a poke in the eye, a loop choke, all these kind of things, take someone down, beat them from behind. I think that's more in our styles than we thought because of the gear making it too much of a kickbox thing. I hope that makes sense. It's really clear in my head.
Makes
So,
sense to me.
Yeah, Christiana, I think it's actually going to deepen what classical martial arts are perceived as because people realize that the stuff's in there. And maybe because of the gear and the kickbox style fighting, it got lost a bit.
Hey, Benz, before you go
Yeah.
on, I want to tell something really funny. I know Sensei Copeland's on the story, on the show. I want to tell a story about, you probably met this guy, Benz. When we had the club in Brantford, there's this guy, his name was Master Croft. Really nice guy, actually. He did, and what he did is he blended Goju-ryu and Tai Chi together. So
Okay.
he'd do all the Goju-ryu katas with like a Tai Chi movement and flair. And I
Mhm.
watched him and I thought he was actually really skilled at it. And we had chatted, and one day as we were passing and talking, he said, "Hey, do you know Conrad Copeland?" I said, "I know him really well." I said, "I know him super well." He's like, I said, "How do you know him?" He goes, "Well, I fought him once in a tournament." And I said, "Oh yeah, how did that go for you? I'd like to hear how that went." And he goes, "Well, it's kind of funny." He goes, "I got in my best," and he named some stance like wing jut back stance. And he said, and then Sensei Copeland started to laugh and said, "What are you doing?" Right. And I said, "And then what happened next?" And he goes, "The referee said go, and 5 taps later, it was all over."
I've watched Conroy Copeland fight too. That's the way it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
I saw. Yeah.
This is a fun question, but let's go through this one quickly just because I think we can get to some meat after it. From Dreedy, thanks for the question. I'll answer first. Do you still get nervous when you have to teach at larger training camps or seminars? At what point did that feeling go away? Okay, Dreedy, I've taught one large seminar. It was online. It was for thousands of people. I was nervous as fuck. My ears got hot. They got
favorite
red.
moment.
Yeah, it
Oh.
was an aspect of myself that doesn't come out much anymore because I'm so comfortable doing this type of thing. I could host this show in front of 10,000 people, but because the martial arts was the focus, not me, and said it was so I haven't gotten over it because I haven't had seminar 2 yet. So that's all. That's my answer for you. So let's go around the horn. Do you still get nervous? If not, how to go away, Sensei Suino?
No. There's always a little bit of energy when you have to present in front of people, but no, I
Right
don't
on.
know. Yeah, I've been doing it for decades.
Yeah. Sensei Dauphin?
No. Yeah. Like, I mean, I just taught at the May training camp, World Martial Arts Live. Sensei Suino was gracious enough to let me teach at the Crucible. I think I do good in those rooms. But I think to answer Dreedy's question is I don't try and teach what I don't know. And that's why it makes it. And I don't care if somebody knows what I know, right? Like, if you have 300 people in the room, there's going to be some people in that room who actually know what you know better than you actually know it, or they're more skilled at it. I don't care. I don't give 2 shits about that. I just go out and I teach what I know, and the people who get it, and who grow from it, and that's it. But no, I don't get nervous teaching at big seminars or doing presentations or anything anymore. Like, I just don't. I think it's because I'm detached from what the audience thinks of what I'm doing, and I'm more focused on what I'm doing.
Thanks, Sensei Hanshi.
No, not at all. You know your stuff or you don't. If you don't know your stuff, don't be up there.
Mm.
That's all I gotta say. I don't know.
And Benson, I gotta say, it was awesome seeing you teach at World Martial
I
Arts.
love that.
Because I remember saying to you, do you want us to leave? Because I know as a teacher, like when your instructors are watching you, like that's another reason why I know I feel comfortable teaching a class when Sensei Suino or Sensei Legacy are watching me. Those are the people that I would care about most watching me. And I'm okay if they watch me. I actually want them to. Like I want that. So when I said to you, do you want us to leave? And you were like, no, I think I'm fine. And then like a minute and 37 seconds into it, Sensei Legacy and I were like, I think we should leave. We should get out of the room right now. But that's a growth moment for you, right? Like I'm not
That's
making fun of
awesome.
you. That's a
No,
growth moment for you as a martial artist.
Yeah, I loved it too, and I love feeling that way. I'm not in martial arts to feel comfortable. I'm in martial arts to grow.
Here's a life hack. So the first time I set foot in front of a giant audience of Japanese people in Tokyo to compete with in Iaido, I had the exhilaration of being in front of an audience, but I wasn't nervous. And for me, it kind of relates to what Randy said, because I was much more nervous one-on-one with my teacher at a 3-hour private lesson at his home dojo. Like all I cared about, I would have walked across the street if he told me to do so and get it by a truck. I wasn't scared by the audience or the judges. I just wanted my teacher to be proud of me, right? That's the only intention I had, and it's amazing. That's a life hack, right? You know, if you're someone who struggles in front of audiences, you just got to realign who you care about, I think.
Love it. And listening. So we're at that kind of time where this may or may not be our last question, but it's a great one. So I don't think we should worry about rushing it. I want to start with you, Hanshi Legacy. If you could have any person on this show as a guest, living or dead, who would it be?
Matsumura. Is that what you mean?
That's the question. Yeah.
Definitely Matsumura, just to get an ideal picture of what really happened in those days. I wish he was on here for sure. So we would know whether those other people were really around and whether those stories have some sort of truth or, you know, reasonable truth to them. Like, you know, they always say, well, there's always a bit of truth in it. But I'd really like to know if Itosu really embedded a sai into those bandits' chests and, you know, stuff like that, if that actually really happened.
Sensei Suino?
Well, one of my personal heroes is Yamaoka Teshu, right? Famous swordsman, calligrapher, statesman in Japan, and a guy who just absolutely lived life to the fullest. I would love to have him on this show. You know, if we could have a dialogue that didn't have the barrier of translation problems, and just to hear him, you know, just to hear him talk about stuff, like he just never flinched from a challenge, and he dedicated his entire life to, you know, to helping other people, to helping his country, and raising money for poor people and for temples. And he was just a phenomenal human being as well as a great martial artist. You know, kind of exemplifies all the virtues that we talk about on the call when we have these lifetime martial artists who start out as little scrappy kids, and, you know, 50 years later they become role models. He compressed all that into like 52 years. And yeah, so my choice, Yamaoka Teshu.
Sensei Dauphin?
Listen, this is our show, so I don't give a fuck. I'm going to answer the way I want to. It's the way I want. I definitely agree with Sensei Legacy. My number 1 would be Matsumura. My number 2 would be Benny Allen. My number 3 would be Katsuya Yamaguchi. And my number 4 would be Muhammad Ali. Those would be the 4 people, if we could get them on this show, that are no longer here anymore. Those would be the ones that I would want to talk to.
Right on. Mine would be Benny Allen. I can't believe that I was still like a white belt when he was still alive, and if I'd known what I know now, I could have met the man. Maybe, I don't know. That's just because so much of what we've learned on this show about what an innovator he was and how much our martial arts really sprang through Yuhanchi legacy. That would be it. You know, the other one, because there's a reason why I'm doing martial arts more than like kickboxing or boxing, is Bodhidharma. I want to fucking
Ooh.
talk to that guy and just get down to the
Okay.
fucking like, what do you really like? I'd love to meet someone at that caliber or Buddha of mystic and just look in their eyes and go, is it all just followers amplifying, or is there something there that is what the followers and what everything since says? So anyways, that's my answer.
I'll send you some TikToks, Sean, after.
Okay, great. Oh, I'm on TikTok. Am I? I fucking it's like 5 times a day these days. Let's go around the horn. Let's go around the horn. We're at that time. Hanshi Legacy, what do you want to say? What do you want to break in the open for 8 minutes?
I just want to, just for a couple of minutes, come back to what you were just saying about Bodhidharma. I'm saying that it would be very worthwhile, because whilst most of us just think about the art, remember I was telling you about when you're fighting somebody, what should you be thinking about? And the answer is nothing. And that's what you learn through Zen. And also when I'm teaching, that's part of the reason why I'm not afraid or I don't get nervous, is because I just empty my mind. And as soon as somebody says go, or I just find a place where I'm going to start, and I empty my mind and I let everything that I have learned and understand just come out. So Bodhidharma would really be somebody worthwhile listening to, because it is a part of art. It's just like Mercury, you can't put your finger on it. So most people don't like to relate to it. It may sound a bit sheepish talking about Zen, but it's going to save your ass when you're fighting another profession who has very good control of his no-mindedness. You're going to have a hard time beating that.
Thanks, Hanshi.
Right.
Sensei Suino.
I'm gonna pass for a minute. Still thinking.
Right on. Sensei Dauphin.
I like these conversations when we do the host chats are so much fun. Like anybody who's watching this is the Kimono Open, right? Like you're basically seeing what the four of us talk like when the four of us are sitting at any one of our coffee tables, just having a beer and chatting. Like you're getting really an insight into, these are topics we've talked about many, many times. Like this is not new. Like we're not talking about stuff that it's like the first time we've talked about this. But so one, I just want to share that with anybody who's watching this, right? Like you're getting us at there's no acting here. We're at our unabashed, most honest. I want to build on your Bodhidharma thing. You know, I don't know, like I look at, I don't think I could have taught Katsuo Yamaguchi much about swordsmanship. Like I'm not sure of that. I'm not clear about Matsumura. I'm not sure about what he knew compared to what we know today. I'm just being honest about it. I'm just not sure, right? And then when I say somebody like Muhammad Ali, like there's no chance I'm not getting in the ring with Muhammad Ali. He'd fucking destroy me. Like I could see it with my own eyes. I know what he knew, right? So one of the thoughts as we're going around the horn is like what you know versus what you don't know, right? Those people, I met none of them. Matsumura, Benny Allen, Yamaguchi Sensei, Muhammad Ali, I met none of them. I watched Muhammad Ali with my own eyes. I only know the other two through the words of Sensei Suino and Sensei Legacy. And Matsumura, I know nothing other than what I want to know and what other people have told me, like through history. And that's why I have the most questions about Matsumura, right? Or Bodhidharma, right? To go, like, maybe we would be totally fucking bored by what he had to say. Like, maybe he'd be talking to us and we'd be like, holy shit, is this guy so dull? Like, anyway,
The
I
text
don't know.
between us, this fucking Bodhidharma guy is driving me crazy. Can we get him off the call?
Oh, here he goes again,
I don't know. I don't
talking
know.
about the
That's my
fish
thought.
again.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Exactly.
Sensei Sweeto, you wanna wind down on anything yet?
Yeah. So just a moment to recognize how cool it is that we're having this conversation and some of the great martial artists that you can see on your screen, but our audience is composed of some pretty great martial artists. I mean, I look at these names, I've seen Sidney Dauphin do karate. It's fucking incredible. My wife is a fucking certified badass in the old school tradition, right? Sensei Miletsky, right? Like all the shit he's done in his life with all the different martial arts. I mean, it's effing amazing, right? Daniel J. Halm III may be the most talented martial artist that I've ever had the pleasure to train with. He's on this call. Justin Shea, one of the most determined human beings you're ever going to meet. Doug Knispel's on this call. Conrad Copeland's on this call. I mean, there's some bad motherfuckers on this call, and they're cool enough to tune in and listen to us run our mouths about this. Let's not make any bones about it. Let's not overlook the fact that we're part of a really incredible community.
That's actually what I wanted to go out on. When I go back to Sydney's first question about responsibilities changing and shifting, sensei's aging, when we go down, people trying to get into shape, things about your art that surprised you because you didn't know what you didn't know, defending yourself against multiple opponents, and then styles that didn't cooperating. You get all the questions, getting nervous, teaching, etc. It all comes down to humility for me, like getting right sized. Not being better than I am or worse than I am in my mind. And that's always my fucking goal. And I think our goal, and when you just said that, Sensei Suino, like we're literally talking about stuff to people who know about the stuff we're talking about. And, there's a wonderful humility to that, and opening the kimono, and even just getting emotional about my relationship with my teacher. Like all of it includes, yeah, you got skills. Yeah, you got this. And the skills are real, right? Like to negate what we know is false humility, and that's ego. And so I just love, and Ansh, you talked about this once, and I don't know if it was when you were a guest or you were commenting on another guest, but martial arts is that brass you polish until you can see yourself perfectly without distortion. And I've never stopped meditating on that since you said it. And I'm in the park today teaching a white belt to help him with some hand stuff. And all I'm thinking is, what's my truth here? What's the truth here through these movements? Anyways, humility is the word that just kept popping up for me tonight. I just feel so humbled and honored to be a part of this deal. That's our night, right? Sensei, do you want to tell us anything about the future? We're not scheduled for anything online, I know. Is there anything you want to share? Or should we just say goodnight?
No, I definitely have some things to say. So
Great.
one of the things I want to say, and since Suino can chip in on this, or any of you if you want, one of our goals is to start moving this podcast quickly, but incrementally in the next direction, right? So more guests, I know. And one thing we always appreciate is Sensei Copeland, Sensei Miletsky, different people always give us names and say, this is a good person, you should have them on the podcast. And we really appreciate that. And whether you see them or not, we always reach out to them and try. And so sometimes it just doesn't work out. We got a new website coming out soon. Super stoked about that. We've done a lot of work on this. And I guess one of the things I want to say is that our commitment to this is over the long haul. It's not over the short haul. So we've been doing this now for what, 2.5 years, going on 3 years. Yeah. We had a meeting recently where we were discussing things, and Sensei Suino said, look, we haven't even hit the 5-year mark yet. Right. So none of these people are quitters. 30 years from now, we'll still be doing this. So yes, that's like I say, I don't care. We'll drag you along. That's not a discussion. Anyway, I promise you, there's lots of great names. We've got a list of about, I don't know. Anybody can correct me if there's a list of about 12 or 14 like historical or historically relevant or current term today, like fighter relevant. And we're in discussions with all of them. So I promise you there's a lot of stuff coming, still coming. Yeah. And one thing I do want to say, Sean, is Sensei Legacy and I recently, just last week or the week before, we went to Sensei Reynolds Memorial, and Doug Knispel did an amazing job eulogizing Sensei Knispel, did a great job with Sensei Reynolds. There's pictures, great man, definitely a guy who really influenced martial arts in North America, and his influence is going to continue on. Yeah, and we've talked about these things on our show. It's really, that's one of the powerful things that we're doing, I think.
Thank you, Sensei. And we don't do it without the help of Robert Schlumsky, Justin Shea, Andrei Sedashev, and Alden Adair, who are keeping things running behind the scenes and keeping you informed with what's going on through that Instagram page and the website stuff. So thank you to them for keeping this shit rocking. Thank you, Sensei. This has been a real pleasure and honor tonight.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, guys.